This is the foundation of what we're doing here, and it's something that I'd like you to really adhere to for the rest of your life. So this is not a temporary healing practice, but it's a way of staying well and healing yourself when you need it throughout life. And when you incorporate the spices into your meals every day, those spices allow you to get all six tastes. And that means that whatever you're eating, you can modify by adding spices. You can modify it so that you can get the best out of the food. A lot of Western food is extremely bland, or it always contains the same thing. The more that you can play around with spices, including in breakfast meals, the more you're going to find your intestinal flora flourishes. You're going to find your immunity is better, your digestion is better, mental clarity and everything. You're going to find a lot of overlap in these spices. So almost without exception, they're all extremely good for gut health. The intestinal flora absolutely loves not only the fiber of the spices, but of course the phenols and the components of the different spices. So today I'm only doing a few of them, the most important ones. And then next time I will continue because there's a lot more to be said. One thing that's important is not to overdo it. Spices are designed to be a part of your meals as an ongoing kind of health regime. Every now and then you can use them in treatment, like we've done adding spice into the ghee. You want to keep the spices regular, and you want to keep your meals simple. So not adding a lot of different things to each meal will also help digestion. Think of a buffet and all these different things that you might eat. The body has to create enzymes for every different type of food that you eat, especially if you combine raw and cooked food and then sweet after eating savory, for example. All those things really inhibit digestion. And the spices, even if they are there to help digestion, will not be able to help you. So don't overdo the spices. Don't take them alone. It's very rare that a spice can just be taken like that. It should be cooked into something. And if it's being taken medicinally, it needs to be prepared in something like either honey or ghee or milk or whatever other, what's called anupanam, which is the vehicle or the thing that you use to take care of spice or your medicine. So you use them every time you take something. That means that if you're making tea, if you're making your breakfast, or for whatever meal of the day, you just add some spice, and you, of course, decide based on what it is that you are making. But more is not better. So just like with the water or any of the other things, don't just add more. When somebody hears that something is good, it's like, well, if a little bit is good, a lot must be really much better. We have to simplify, be consistent, and be moderate. Everything in moderation is very healing. Anything in excess, even if it's supposed to be good for you, like drinking water or taking spices of any kind, it's too much. So keep yourself day to day just slowly moving forward in your diet, and know that over a few days you're accumulating all of these different components. Remember that it's about 30 days from the time that you first ingest something until the time that the body tissues have actually finished utilizing it. So it goes deeper and deeper and deeper into the tissues of the body, what Ayurveda calls dhatus. These dhatus are the different components that go from sort of gross components to the finer components, like the muscles and the bone tissue, and then the rakta dhatu, which is the blood, and so on. So you have all of these different aspects of yourself, which require different aspects of the food that you intake. And so the more that you spread it out over time, the more the body will be able to assimilate bit by bit, rather than getting like a mega dose of one thing. You'll really see that in a very simple way and a delicious way, you're going to really be able to balance your health. So let's start with some of the most powerful spices. Cinnamon is just remarkable. For many, many centuries, it's been used. Even in ancient Egypt, they have found cinnamon in tombs. In ancient India as well, it's been used to preserve things. It's been used to take microbes and any kind of pests out of meat, for example, curing meats in all kinds of cultures. And so cinnamon, when we take it in our bodies, has a remarkable effect. It's an incredible healing food. So it lowers blood sugar and improves insulin balance. So it's really helpful for diabetes. It reduces heart disease, cancer, and neurodegenerative diseases. things like Parkinson's, for example, because it's anti-inflammatory. So you'll see that almost all of these spices are anti-inflammatory. They're extraordinary. And then the fact that they combine, the synergy of them all together makes them even more powerful. Cinnamon is warming and it increases ojas. So it's really great for vata. It's sattvic, which means that it doesn't disturb the body. It doesn't disturb the mind or the peace of the body. It is very balancing for the body. It improves mood and it improves our resistance to stress. It relieves fatigue and reduces tension and anxiety and pain. Makes a great tea, for example. If you just put cinnamon in and a few other spices in hot water and you boil it on the stove, you can sip that. It's like a kind of a chai without black tea, for example. Well, I guess you can't really call it chai then because chai means tea. So your masala tea, masala drink. It also improves memory, concentration, and motivation. It's a real mood enhancer. There's a lot of magnesium in cinnamon, and that helps to maintain bone density because magnesium helps to bind calcium in the body, and it improves hormone balance. So it's really good for treating menstrual and gynecological problems, low libido, infertility, and infections like thrush. So what you would do in case of, for example, thrush, which is a kind of candida, you would just simply add cinnamon to more and more things in your diet. You can add cinnamon, for example, in powdered form, of course, to khichdi. You can put a dash in soups. You can add it to your breakfast, whatever that might be, if it's porridge or just warm milk or whatever. You just keep adding cinnamon here and there. And the daily dose, the regular dose is really going to be the most healing rather than trying to really increase the dose very quickly, which may or may not even be integrated by the body according to how it's able to digest. So cinnamon, because it's warming, it increases Agni and it clears Ama, so that toxic residue that's in the gut. And therefore it gives us better digestion and it helps us absorb nutrients better. It protects the gut from inflammation, from irritation, infection, and ulcers. It's used to treat diarrhea as well, dysentery, which is massive diarrhea, or long-term diarrhea, candida, and dysbiosis. That means the intestinal flora is not in good balance. It improves blood flow to the joints, and so it's really good for arthritis. Most things that are warming are helpful for arthritis. Again, in moderation. It lowers cholesterol. It increases energy, or prana, if you like. It relieves infections. It's good for fevers, colds, mucus, coughs, and chest infections. So all of that is kapha disorders. So again, when we see something that's warming, that is going to benefit usually vata and kapha. Cinnamon strengthens the kidneys and it relieves cystitis and urinary tract infection. So you can make tea out of it and drink that over the course of a day. Ginger is another miracle that is incredibly versatile. It has anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and digestive effects. It's well tolerated by almost everyone. And it's especially good for vata and kapha because, of course, it's warming. It's considered the most sattvic spice, and it's antioxidant, rejuvenating. It enhances energy and immunity, stimulates the heart and circulation. So it's pungent and warming. That's great for, again, for vata and kapha. It helps with digestion, and those vata kapha are the ones who have the most digestive problems. And it's really good for respiratory problems. Dried ginger especially is good for clearing excess kapha. So if you have sinus infections, colds, whatever kind of congestion, and then headaches as well, it relieves headaches. And it stimulates metabolism. And of course, stimulating digestion stimulates metabolism. It increases Agni, which of course is another way of saying it stimulates digestion, but it can aggravate Pitta. So that means that we want to, in some cases, we're looking to aggravate Pitta or raise Pitta, like for example, when you're constipated and you need to stimulate Agni. But if you are already Pitta type, or if you've got a lot of Pitta issues, you definitely don't want to overstimulate. And so you need to use it in moderation. Using the dried form is more drying and more heating. And so Pitta can do well with the fresh form, but not necessarily. It depends also on quantity. So it's probiotic. It clears ama, and so meaning that it's detoxifying, and it's diuretic. It's good for osteo and rheumatoid arthritis. Again, things that are heating tend to be good for arthritis. Pain relieving and relaxing. It eases colic and spasms. A lot of these things also ease colic. There's so many benefits to so much of these spices that I couldn't even fit it all in one screen, and we'd be here all day. We could study one spice for a week. It's excellent for low libido and impotence, so great for regulating male hormonal issues. It's also going to regulate periods, whether they're delayed or painful or insufficient, so dysmenorrhea of some kind. Fresh ginger juice can also be applied topically in oil. So you don't want to apply it directly to the skin, but you would put it in, say, a carrier oil like sesame or almond oil, and you can rub it into your low back, or if you have sciatica, rub it wherever you feel the pain. And in the joints, if you have arthritis, it can relieve a lot of that joint pain. You can even add it to the bath. You can take fresh ginger juice or ginger powder and mix it in with your bath. It relieves nausea, constipation, indigestion, diarrhea, gas, high cholesterol, and poor circulation. Generally speaking, anything that is stimulating and warm is good for circulation. It helps treat hypothermia. So if you've been out in the cold, or if your children, for example, or anybody that you know who has been out for a very long time, you make up some ginger tea. And it's something that really helps a lot. If there's a severe case, then it also can be taken both internally and externally. And heart problems, poor immunity, coughs, of course, chest infections, asthma, sore throat, laryngitis, colds, flu, fever, headaches, bacterial and viral infections, cholera, and acute bacterial dysentery and malaria. So many different things that benefit from ginger. And then, of course, another star player is turmeric. And turmeric clears toxins from the gut, as all the good ones do, promotes menstrual flow, heals bones and fractures to the bones, as well as kidney and bladder issues. And it's a nourishing tonic that strengthens Agni. It lowers blood sugar and cholesterol and stimulates appetite. It improves the absorption of nutrients and anemia. So turmeric is one of those things that actually is quite good to take in powdered form. It's very rare that it's taken in fresh form, but you can add a bit. For example, you just cut off a little bit and add it into juice if you're juicing. Or if you're making a smoothie, for example, you would add some turmeric into there. But again, less is more. You don't need to add a lot. Turmeric is quite heating and not necessarily good to be taken in high doses in one go. Turmeric needs to be taken with food. It needs to be taken with oil, and you'll see in a moment that it benefits from being taken with black pepper. So you don't want to take turmeric in capsule forms. You can buy it very expensively, all nicely packaged with unnecessarily, excessive packaging as well. And if you just take turmeric in capsule forms, it's not even going to be absorbed into the body. So you're literally throwing your money away. And overheating the liver if you take turmeric in capsules, or if you just take turmeric in powdered form, just like that. Definitely not a good thing to do. It boosts immunity, it regulates the intestinal flora. So once again, it's a probiotic. It eliminates worms and parasites and purifies the blood. It inhibits clotting. So again, if you maintain a steady diet containing turmeric as an ingredient, you'll find that your blood is much more better regulated without having to go to excess. You just keep taking it in your food. It helps to prevent heart and arterial diseases as well. It rejuvenates the body, it heals wounds, and you can use it topically. Some of you who have been in India may have sometimes seen cows walking around, like bright yellow cows, or goats, or even dogs walking around bright yellow, because the owners will rub turmeric into their skin as a way of healing any kind of skin disorders or any kind of wounds that they might have, or even protecting them from mosquitoes and other kinds of invasive parasites. And so you see these yellow cows walking around. It's pretty impressive. So again, really good for arthritis. Again, another anti-inflammatory. It's antimicrobial, and turmeric strengthens the ligaments. So if you've ever had an accident, or if you're just like a Vata type that has very lax ligaments, it's a really good thing to maintain a steady diet of turmeric. It relieves itchy skin conditions and improves the complexion. So really good for the skin, both internally and externally, and of course relieves pain. It protects against toxins in the environment. So again, that toxic load that we get is coming from our diet, it's coming from the way we breathe, it's coming from the skin, and the turmeric will be there as a protectorate, but we also have to be wise and we have to find ways of avoiding toxins in the first place. It helps healing free radical damage. So that means, again, it's an antioxidant. The body, when it's oxidizing, is aging faster. And so turmeric, again, has that rejuvenating quality. It protects against cancers, especially colon cancer and breast cancer. And it soothes the intestinal wall and protects against stress, acidity, drugs, and other irritants. And it reduces gastritis and stomach ulcers. So truly an amazing thing. And then black pepper really goes hand in hand with the turmeric. It should be used anytime you use turmeric. You don't have to put a lot. You just literally put out like 1 or 2 grinds of your peppermill and just add it to whatever quantity of turmeric you're using, because only a tiny bit of black pepper will give that stimulus to the turmeric. Black pepper itself also clears toxins. It clears ama from the gut. It rejuvenates the lungs. The black pepper has a great affinity for the respiratory system and clears sinus congestion. So really important for kapha types to have black pepper often. It's diuretic. It boosts agni. It regulates diabetes and urinary tract disorders. And it eliminates worms and parasites again. And so that's also really great if you are traveling or during the summer when there's more exposure to parasites through gardening or whatever else. Just always having black pepper in the diet is really helpful for that. It's extremely heating and penetrating, that we can tell just by tasting it. It's like ginger is immediately on the tongue, very, very heating. It's excellent for debility, meaning that the person has become dull and the mind has kind of gone. That can be through old age, but it can also be through just pure laziness. That's both a vata and the kapha issue, the lethargy. And nervous exhaustion. So many of you are suffering from depletion. And so black pepper is also really good at bringing back the energy that is not going to overstimulate you, but help you to rebalance that vata. It relieves sore throat, coughs, asthma, bronchitis, pneumonia, and resolves low or chronic fevers due to congestion. So again, kapha. And it stimulates blood flow and relieves uterine problems, dysmenorrhea and amenorrhea. So dysmenorrhea means that there's problems with the menstruation, and amenorrhea means you have stopped menstruating, and so there's no period. And so black pepper can really help. This is one of the things that also helps in the case of anorexia and bulimia. So which often goes hand in hand with amenorrhea. Of course, it's not going to do anything if you're like training for marathons and that's why you've stopped getting your period. But if you've decided to cut back on your training and you want to get your periods back, well, then you can really rely on black pepper. It's useful in digestive problems again, and anorexia, colic, gas, bloating, and sluggish digestion. It stimulates the liver and the pancreas. It stimulates sweating and it purifies the skin. It's useful in treating skin diseases. It alleviates joint pain, oral abscesses, and tooth decay. It will aggravate vata in excess. It will aggravate pitta, it's too much heat. It should always be used in your food in moderation. You take it only rarely for medicinal purposes. And if it's for a digestive, then there's a specific prescription to use the black pepper. You don't just monkey around and take like a teaspoon of black pepper in one go. It's just way too much. It will cause hyperacidity, which is a pitta disorder, and or dehydration. So the black pepper, as I mentioned already, is what you need to activate turmeric to make turmeric even better for you. So turmeric will be good for you. Turmeric, as I said, requires fat and is really helped by taking pepper. So using both while you're cooking is really helpful. And then there's fennel. So fennel is a great all-around thing to keep in your cupboard. You can take it just like that. You can just eat it like that after a meal as well, because fennel, again, clears toxins from the gut, and it helps the body digest better by increasing agni without aggravating pitta. You can see there's a bit of a theme here. Unlike the other spices we've just seen, fennel is cooling. So really good for all three, in fact, all three doshas. So you can stimulate your digestion without worrying about whether you're overstimulating the digestive fire. It relieves fever, coughs, respiratory disorders, alleviates skin problems. Skin problems are most often due to high pitta. So the cooling effect helps those skin problems. It supports the heart, increases breast milk as well, and it's helpful in gynecological problems. It helps with mental fatigue, vision problems, nervous tension. So vision problems are also pitta related. So when pitta is off balance, there's something going on in the eyes. The eyes will be hot or they'll be dry, or the vision is blurry. The vision is not good, and that's most often a pitta issue. And so whenever you find something that improves pitta, you can also see that your eyesight might improve. And then muscle tension, of course, and cramps, menstrual pain, fevers, boils. Again, that's pitta. Skin diseases, pitta. Blood disorders, all of that, too much pitta. As well as asthma and coughs, which is more of a kapha issue. And fennel improves appetite and digestion. It relieves indigestion, bloating, and abdominal pain and spasms. It relieves diarrhea, again, and dysentery, more severe diarrhea, hemorrhoids, gas, nausea, and edema, which is retaining water. So it helps people with the kapha issue of retaining water. Saffron is a remarkable thing. It's truly a medicine in and of itself. It's something that you can add again in teas. You can add it into rice dishes. You can add it with your milk. It's a good thing to take in milk in the evening. It's incredibly rich in manganese. It's one of the foods that's highest in manganese, and that is really important for the brain. And so again, it's about microdosing so that if you take a little bit every day, then the brain will have enough. You don't have to like boost it every day, taking mega doses. We just keep taking it and let the body select what it needs. The other thing is that ghee, as I've mentioned before, ghee is one of the only two things that are known to pass the membrane of the blood-brain barrier. And so the other is alcohol. And so alcohol is often used as a tincture, as a way of putting medicine into the system, including into the brain. So ghee is one of the safest and most efficient ways of nourishing the brain because the brain needs fats as well. And so if you add saffron to a rice dish, for example, or to milk with a little bit of ghee or whatever dessert. There's a lot of desserts and sweets, especially Indian sweets that have saffron and are made with ghee. You'll find that it's absorbed even more into the brain. So another great combination. It's a wonderful treatment for depression and insomnia. So that's why it's often recommended in the evening milk. If you take milk with a little bit of saffron, a little bit of turmeric, some cardamom, a little bit of ghee, and if you want some sweetener or maybe a chopped date inside, that's a really great thing to take about an hour before bedtime. It's a powerful antioxidant. So again, we're seeing that effect in all of these spices, antioxidant effect that helps the body rejuvenate itself. It also reduces irritability, headaches, anxiety, and pain. It improves premenstrual symptoms, blood sugar levels, and eyesight. So it has this wonderful spectrum of action. And then there's the wonderful Hing. So remember, Hing is a resin. This is Hing that is crumbled. So the resin itself comes in a block, and then it's just crumbled to make it easier to dose out. Sometimes it's pulverized, so made into a finer powder, and then other things added to it for cooking. That sort of cheapens the grade of Hing, but you can still use Hing in that way. But if you want to get the genuine medicinal benefit, it's better to try and find the concentrated Hing. Especially if you're going to continue cooking in this way over time, it's definitely worth finding and using regularly. It clears toxins from the gut. So this is, again, the kind of number one thing that all these spices are doing. You're getting the theme here. This is why our digestion improves when we eat foods with all these spices. It increases nutrient absorption, relieves bloating and colic, and improves appetite. It promotes menstrual flow. It relieves coughs and breathing problems. It eliminates worms and parasites. and just the smell alone would have them going. It's a brain and nerve tonic. It relieves gut pain and spasms and is a general pain reliever and laxative. So it's excellent for Vata because, of course, most of those issues that I've just described are Vata issues. It reduces tension and muscle pain, cardiac pain, and circulatory problems. It increases vitality and energy. It improves your digestive fire, and it balances the gut flora. It eases asthma, pneumonia, whooping cough, and other coughs. It stimulates the blood flow to the uterus, regulates menstruation, and increases fertility. Hing is not for therapeutic use in pregnancy, but it's safe as a part of a balanced diet for a pregnant woman. So again, it's all about moderation. Eating normally will bring enough of that into your diet to find the benefits. Hing is used for impotence and low libido, and it's cleansing after childbirth. So notice that not in pregnancy, because we don't want the effect of Hing during pregnancy, but once the baby is born, it can help the woman cleanse the uterus and prepare her postnatal body. And Hing clears skin conditions. And notice that again, the quality of the inner skin is going to reflect the outer skin. And so if Hing is good for the inner skin, just like turmeric, then this is also going to show up on your outer skin. And of course, it relieves fevers. This is helpful for pitta issues. When used as a treatment for intestinal problems, it must be roasted in ghee. You can't just take Hing just like that. And in fact, you wouldn't want to. The body would probably reject it because it's so hard to take. It's a very strong taste. And even when I was taking this image, I just had the Hing on a plate. And I then went on to do something else for about an hour before cleaning up. And when I walked back into the kitchen, the smell was really penetrating. It literally cleared my sinuses. So it doesn't require a lot. It's a pinch of Hing in most recipes, and that's even for a recipe for 4 or 6 people. So you just really don't need a lot. It's just that constant drip, drip, drip addition to your diet that's going to be really helpful. But if you do need a little bit more than a pinch, you must take it with ghee, roast it, and melt it into the ghee so that you take the whole thing. Otherwise, your intestines will be seriously challenged. Coriander is another hero of the spice rack. It cools hot and inflammatory pitta conditions. So really the one thing that you want, if you're a pitta type, if you have any kind of inflammation, whether that be in the gut or on the skin or arthritis, you want to be eating coriander every day in one form or another. So headaches, migraine, muscle pain, neuralgia, which is neurological pain, it boosts mental clarity, improves mood and memory, and relieves lethargy and anxiety. The seeds especially relieve abdominal pain, urinary disorders, and dysmenorrhea. So again, problems with irregular periods. And all forms of coriander enhance digestion and absorption, relieve gas, heartburn, nervous indigestion, diarrhea, and dysentery. So for example, if you have a young person at home that's doing exams and they are really stressed about exams, you can give them something with coriander in it, including tea, for example, and that will help to calm the nervousness. Or before an interview or something like that, it calms the nervousness. Coriander stimulates acne, but it is cooling. So just like fennel, it's great for digestion, but it's cooling. It reduces heat and ama, and it is tridoshic. It balances vata, pitta, kapha. It's very helpful for acute infections, fevers, colds, flus, coughs, allergies, and skin eruptions, because of course it's balancing pitta, like eczema and hay fever. So notice that in the CCFT, we've got fennel and coriander, which both balance pitta, and they're all tridoshic, and you'll see shortly what cumin brings to the tea. So the green coriander, the fresh leaves are really rich in antioxidants. They have a slightly different property to the dried version or the seed that comes from the plant. They are super rich in these vitamins and minerals that the body wants, and they are excellent for drawing out toxins in the body, so what's called chelation. So that's especially good for heavy metals. Coriander is known for being able to draw out things like aluminium and mercury from the body. And so it should really be a regular part of every diet, and especially if you eat fish, because fish is just literally toxic. Any fish anywhere in the world is toxic. There's no exception. And especially the bigger the fish, the more the toxicity, because the fish will be swimming for years in toxic water, and that just accumulates in the fat. So clearing inflammatory skin problems, again, because that coriander has that wonderful beneficial effect for pitta. And so finally, we look at cumin today. Cumin clears toxins from the gut. It increases appetite. It improves digestion and absorption, alleviates nausea. So very interesting if you are traveling, for example, if you have motion sickness or if you're pregnant and have nausea. It absorbs fluid from the bowels. So if there's any issues with too fast digestion, so again, a pitta issue, or if you have diarrhea of whatever cause, you can take cumin and or cumin in the form of uh, tea or just ground up like that and take it with a bit of salt. That would be really good. Cumin is one of those things that you can chew the seeds of, just like fennel, and it's pretty easy for the body to manage. It calms coughs and respiratory problems. It's a brain and nerve tonic. It clears sinus congestion, relieves gut pain and spasms, and increases breast milk. It's good for gas, bloating, and vata and kapha digestive problems, relieves asthma, and reduces mucus, uterine problems, and painful periods. So again, another must have in your spice cabinet.